every time I read for somebody, I find myself saying the same thing, which is something along the lines of, oh, you know, you can do this for yourself, right? Like I've said that to some people on this call. So you've definitely heard me say this. Some people hear that and believe that right away because they're ready to receive that. But there are some people who don't yet receive that. And that's okay. What I do hear are several themes to the hesitation that people experience. So they say things like, well, I'm not intuitive enough for this. I don't have psychic gifts. I'm not spiritual enough yet. I should meditate more. I should have a stronger prayer practice first. Oh, I don't want this to conflict with my religious beliefs. And these are things that I hear over and over. So if you felt this way at some point, that's okay. That's okay. What I realize is that it's not these things, the intuition, the discipline, the spirituality, or religion, that are blocking your access to the records. Like, could you be more spiritual? Maybe, I don't know. But like, even if you could, that's not a reason for why that's not a reason that's keeping you from the records. It's more so that people need a structure that honors how they already access insight. And because I have studied and experienced the records through so many different approaches, meditation based, prayer based, intuitive, energetic, lineage based, etc., I started noticing some patterns. No matter the teacher, no matter the tradition, people are still doing the same set of core things. They use different language, they use different activities. Maybe their pacing is a little bit different, but they're doing the same set of things. And the Oasis framework comes out of that noticing. So it names those core phases of accessing the records. Again, opening sacred space, attuning to the energy of the records, setting your intention, inviting the information in, and then sealing the records. But the Oasis framework also leaves room for you to bring in your own experience, your own intuition, your own beliefs and practices. What I find is that when people are doing the customizing for themselves, the records stop feeling distant or reserved for just a few people. So Oasis, the framework, you can kind of think of it as a scaffold. It's not a script, it's not a checklist. It gives you enough structure to feel grounded and safe, enough flexibility to feel like yourself, but a pathway that you can trust and return to over time. And so let me talk now about what happens in the workshop and what you're going to walk away with. So I'm very excited about this. 2 days, January 11th, January 18th, both are on Sundays, and they are from 10:30 to 1:30 Eastern time. So if you are on a different time zone, adjust accordingly. So day one, that is about access and foundation. So we're going to open the space together. We'll get on the same page about what the records are, what science says about them, what and who you're connecting with when you're in them. And then I'm going to guide you into a live experience of the records. So we'll be in there. And then after that, we're going to slow it down and work our way through the Oasis framework. Just going step by step over the purpose of each phase, how we did that when we entered the meditation. I'll also share some different ways that you can accomplish that purpose. And then through some reflective questions, you'll get to select what works best for you. Because again, the records become more accessible when you have a process that you can trust. Let's see. Let me actually show you some of the things we'll be using as we work through this information. So on day one, we'll talk about reasons that people enter the records. You'll have some journal prompts orienting you, some things to sort of think about what you experienced during the meditation. There's a one-pager that's going to help you capture everything once you customize all the steps for yourself. And then just some questions. There's some offerings for you to read through to figure out what feels most aligned for you, etc. So it'll be a good time. And it'll be a very short 3 hours. Okay, so that's day one. You will have had a real experience in the records. You'll have clarity on how you receive information, whether that's sensing or seeing, hearing, knowing, and then you'll have your own starting point for practice. Okay, day two, the following Sunday, January 18th. That's about deepening and application, especially reading for other people. So we're going to start with troubleshooting and discernment. I'm not going to assign any homework, but it's my hope that you would be so excited and ecstatic about what you learned about entering the records that you want to go in yourself. There's a whole bunch of questions which you'll see, or maybe you just saw them in the workbook that we'll be working our way through. You might want to ask those questions in the records, but even if you don't, that's okay. So we'll start with some troubleshooting, how to understand what you received, how to work with symbolism. A lot of times, people will ask, wait, so I saw this thing. How might I think about that? I love coaching people to kind of come to their own answers and symbols. We're going to also spend a little bit of time telling the difference between your intuition and information in the records, because both are involved in Akashic Records readings, and learning to feel that distinction is part of the practice. Then we're going to focus on reading for other people, how to set intentions with consent, how to reformulate questions so they actually open the field, how to share what you're receiving without overthinking it, etc. You're going to watch me do a live reading for somebody on the call. We'll debrief what you noticed, and then you're going to practice in pairs. So by the end, you won't be reading the records like I do, because that is not the goal, but you will be reading the records perfectly and in the way that matters here, because perfection within this space is all about presence. It's about awareness. It's about having the structure that you can return to and enough lived experience to trust yourself inside of that structure. And so, yeah, that's what we'll be up to. And finally, before we move into questions, I just want to pause and clearly name some of those practical details so you don't have to hold them in your head or hunt for them later. Cameron, if you don't mind, if you could put the link to registration in the chat. This is a 2-day live workshop. The dates are January 11th, January 18th. There's something about the fact that that first workshop is held on January 11th, 111. That just feels so right to me. That's why I chose that date. 111, of course, being that master number for powerful new beginnings, opportunities, manifestation, alignment. And that is from 10:30 a.m. through 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The format is on Zoom. We're going to keep a very small group to keep that space intimate and interactive. So no more than 10 people. 10 actually feels like a little bit of a stretch. The investment for the full experience is $250, but that rate is discounted to $222 if you register by the end of December 31st. And that includes both live sessions, that comprehensive printable and fillable workbook, some guided practices, some concrete resources for asking questions, for attuning to the records, space for your reflections. You also have a community, so afterwards I'm going to ask people if they are comfortable sharing their email addresses with one another. When I've done things like this before, no one has ever said no. And so you'll have opportunities to practice reading the records with each other in a supported space, to build your confidence and build your clarity. So yeah, there is no pressure to decide tonight. I just want you to trust your discernment. If this work is meant for you, you're going to feel that as resonance, not as urgency. Oh my gosh, I must act now, or I will never have this chance ever again. That's not where it's coming from, but just kind of feel into it and see if that works for you. Yeah. All right. So we have a few minutes here, and I would love to open the space for questions.